of here,
Yes.
how much was this a social center for the upper crust?
I would say absolutely, but for the upper crust only. For the working man, they had the Helping Hand Hall. That was kind of their little clubhouse. But I believe Casa Grande to be so lavishly appointed for that exact reason. This was a big company with lots of money, and as the mine manager residing here, part of your responsibility would have been to receive visitors, guests, VIPs from around the world, and this is where they would have stayed. So it would have been very nicely appointed. You would have had, the top wait staff here. This was the dining room, so I'm sure many formal meals were prepared downstairs in the kitchens, brought up here and served in the dining room, and then afterwards, discussion in the drawing room next door.
Were the owners of the mine local to California, or were they?
It was, no. In fact, Randall came from New York. So he's the third one down, so I like to use these portraits. These are actually done by one of our volunteers who's a very talented artist. She used black and white photos, and we were talking about just blowing up the black and white photos, and she said, oh no, I can do better. So that's what she did. She did for the most prominent of the mine manager, although there were about 12 in all. The very first one pictured here is Henry Halleck. And he was, you can see from the dates, he predates the actual final building of Casa Grande because he's the one that actually got this thing built. It probably took several years to do so. So he started in 1852, the house was completed in 1854. Halleck was a West Point graduate. He was a lawyer. He had training as an engineer. He was an extremely brilliant man, and he could lead people. He was the one that started Casa Grande, got Casa Grande built, and got the company going in earnest as far as production. However, he was called off to go fight in the Civil War. He later became a general in the Civil War, and later President Lincoln's chief of staff. So he went on to bigger and better things from here. Samuel Butterworth was his successor with one in between. Butterworth is kind of the increasing production year. So that's kind of the time period where they're trying to increase technology, trying to find new and better ways to process the ore. But he struggled a little bit, and so his tenure was not extremely long. So I did lie, it was 1870, I couldn't get that date right. 1870 to 1892 is when James Randall stepped in. And Randall was from New York, he was a banker. He was an extremely shrewd businessman, and he cared about people. What he did is he came in and he worked on the actual workforce here doing the underground labor, and he helped to clean up the town. He established a miners' fund that helped give them medical care for they and their families. He provided the Helping Hand Hall, which was sort of a fraternal clubhouse, if you will. He definitely improved working conditions for the miners living here with their families. He also brought in imported labor from England. And these were the Cornish miners that he brought, who also had hard rock mining knowledge. And they brought with them increased ways, technologies, new ways of doing things. And so under his tenure,